Good morning and welcome to The Debate, your #1 source for sports and entertainment. I'm your host, Brittany Bissell, and today's show will set the stage for two of YSU's greatest sports minds. You may know our first guest from his hit radio show, The Night Shift on Rookery Radio. You may have also seen him on the Penguin Rundown. Our second guest has years of experience in journalism and communication. He also stars on Rookery Radio's Fourth and Goal talk show. So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you John Schiraldi and Alan Rogers. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Fantastic. Happy to be here.
All right,
doing good, doing good. Can't complain.
So we're going to get to know a little bit about you guys. So John, we'll start with you. What was it that attracted you to YSU and why the sports broadcasting major?
Well, I looked at, they say that cliche saying, do what you love, you'll never have to work a day. I love sports, and I have this nasty habit of not knowing when to shut up. So I picked a career where I could talk all the time and about what I love. And, you look at what the campus has going on in the university with President Trussell, it's really just a great time to be around the university. And really that's what ultimately drove me back here to, finish off my education here as a Penguin.
Perfect. Now, Alan, you actually graduated with a bachelor's in journalism and you're pursuing your master's degree right now. Mm-hmm. So tell us about what attracted you to YSU and what are you planning to do with your master's degree?
Well, for me, I'm a guy who's not from around Youngstown, not from Ohio. And, a lot of people outside of this state won't know that much about Youngstown. But when I first took my trip here, I loved it. So it was kind of just that instant, fall in love type of thing. My eyes got real wide when I walked around campus, got to go downtown. So I just got to know everybody in the department, in the journalism department, and the communications department, and I loved what I learned and who taught me. So, like John said, you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. So it just was something that caught my eye and caught my attention. So it's just, moving forward with it.
Now, both of you are involved with sports talk radio shows and Rookery Radio, so how has that been beneficial to you? Alan, I'll start with you.
It definitely has helped me in many ways. Necessarily coming into sports talk radio and stuff like that, I didn't know that much about it other than what I saw on television. You talk about Stu Gatz and guys on the radio that are pretty popular, and I was listening to a lot of ESPN radio at the time, so I think that it's just helped me in a multitude of ways of just learning how the business can go and learning how, where to put my foot in and kind of what direction to take this to. So I think it definitely has opened my eyes to what I want to do in my career path and has helped me look to my future.
Yeah, Alan hit the nail right on the head. Ideally, I'd like to see myself down the road in a setup like Mike and Mike, where it's a radio show that, also doubles as a TV show. But really, I think what the most advantageous thing for students to get involved with groups like Rookery is it really lets you polish your skill set, and that's what I'm most thankful for. All of us are obviously nowhere close to being professional, so this little, world, if you will, really allows you to get a good taste of what the industry is like, and you're doing really the job of 5 people. You're running boards, you're talent, you're producing, so it's really a great way for sports broadcasting majors especially to really get their feet wet and really get familiar with the field that they want to pursue.
Have either of you landed any big interviews on your radio shows that you're just kind of like, yes, I'm super excited I have that interview?
Well, we've talked to Derek Rivers. That was like a really big interview for us, and we've had him on the show a few times, over the span of 3 years that we've been doing the show. So that was like a really big interview, and we got Coach Andy Kay from Warren Harding to get on the show, and that was absolutely awesome too, to have him on and talk about his experience.
Yeah, I think my biggest one was I actually grew up playing Pee Wee football with Billy Price, who's left tackle or left guard now for Ohio State. And fun fact, I'm the only Rookery radio show host to pancake a Division I starting offensive lineman. Granted, it was raining that day, and I think Billy might have took a dive to help, Pee Wee, John Schiraldi, build up a little confidence in the world. But guys like Billy Price, Marcus McWilson, a lot of kids that we grew up with and that I got the chance to play Pee Wee football with and are now doing much more important things on a national stage.
Definitely.
All right, well, we have plenty of sports to debate, and we'll get right into it right after this short break.
Some strong teams in the tournament this year. Yeah, but we all know it's the strongest team that get to cut down those nets.
You can't just get to the Sweet 16 and then kick back and rest on your laurels.
You do realize the irony here.
Yes, I literally made this hammock out of laurels so that I can rest on them. This is the 91 championship net. This is the 92 championship net. These red, white, and blue ones are from my backyard when I was a kid.
Get stronger. AT&T's network now has the nation's strongest 4G LTE signal.
Your
Welcome back to the debate where we just introduced to you our guests. Guys, you guys ready to debate?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm sorry for what's about to happen to my man.
I'm not worried.
All right, so we're already into the second round of the NBA playoffs, and one of the biggest questions every year is who will win the MVP? But the real question is, who is the most deserving? Alan, we'll begin with you. What's your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the MVP title and kind of just the span of the NBA and the environment that it is, I think you have to give the MVP to Russell Westbrook. You know, when we look at who is the MVP and who has been the MVP for the past few years, I think the NBA set precedent in the sense that Stephen Curry necessarily, well, we all can agree, wasn't the best player in the league at the time that he won MVP. I think the first year he won it, James Harden had a better season than him, and then the second year he won it, I don't think he should have won unanimous. You definitely can make the case that he should win it, but unanimous, we can all argue. But I think they set precedent with that, saying that if you have some historic type season, break some historic type record that we haven't seen ever or haven't seen in such a long period of time, then you should be given the mantle of the MVP. And Russell Westbrook definitely did that with him averaging a triple-double this year, just the mentality that he brought to the court this year. And, you know, he kind of is the closest thing that I think we'll have right now to a Kobe Bryant in the NBA, just kind of how he goes out there, handles himself. You know, he talks about, like, my best friend is Spalding when I'm on the court. So you got to just love a guy who his only thing is to really get the ball in the basket, get the wins. And it's not statistics. The statistics just happen to come with the game because he has to do everything for his team. You know, we talk about MVP. If you take him off that team, this team might be #1 overall in the lottery pick when we're talking, you know, draft. So you got to love what Russell Westbrook brings to the table. I think he lost a lot with missing Kevin Durant and some other pieces that they could have brought but didn't. I just love what he brings to the table, and averaging a triple-double, you can't really argue with that.
Real quickly, I wanted to say, I think the numbers are a lot different from when he's in the game and then his team when he's off the floor. So how much does that play into it?
Definitely, and then that was definitely evident of this past playoff games against the Rockets when you look at, I think they were -2 or 3 with him off the court and then plus like 13 with him on the court. So it just goes to show that when he comes off the court, there's obviously a drop in talent level. There's a drop in production on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. We're not talking about a guy who just goes out there like we've seen James Harden in the past few seasons, you know, play 100% offense, then kind of just move around on defense, flailing his arms.
Some of that Matador defense.
Exactly, Olay, yeah. So with Russell Westbrook on the floor, he definitely improves his team. He improves the people around him, and he gets the job done. So I don't see why you couldn't go with him.
Do you think that KD leaving, though, was a knock at what kind of teammate he was?
Well, when you look at the dynamic of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, I don't necessarily think that Russell Westbrook was a selfish guy. I think Kevin Durant and him felt that they both were top dogs. So it was when it came down to the last shots of the game and when it came down to the last minutes of the game, it was like, who do you want to take the shot? I think whoever had the ball in their hands was going to take the shot at the end. So they both seem complacent at sometimes because I think they just listen to outside sources too much. But I don't think it was necessarily a knock at him. I think KD was chasing rings.
All right, John, so we have him, Russell Westbrook. Who's your pick for MVP? Who's the most deserving?
Now, Alan, I won't refute anything you're saying. It's been a sensational season for Russell Westbrook, perhaps one of the best in NBA history. But the fact of the matter is the MVP stands for most valuable player. And to me, that has always meant what person, if you take them away from their team, will that team be the worse off? Who has the greatest impact in as many facets as the game as possible? That being said as well, it's the MVP, not the MOP, the most outstanding player. Russell Westbrook is by far the most outstanding player in the league this year. He's having an incredible season, but he is by no means the NBA MVP. I cannot give the MVP award to a guy that is having the second most historic inefficient season in NBA history. He's already north of 400 turnovers. I just can't do it to him. I can't give it to a guy that's on a team that only has 40 wins. And more so than that, my biggest reason I can't give Russell Westbrook the MVP is the fact that when he is on the court, he is a sensational player, puts up jaw-dropping numbers, makes the whole team go. I would contend he does not make the players better around him like some of the other MVP candidates we have sitting here today. And traditionally, I would also look at the fact that despite I say the MVP is supposed to be who means the most to their team, it really comes down to the best player on the best possible team. And I think for that reason alone, Harden or somebody like that will edge Westbrook in that sense. But if you're asking me who would I vote for if my vote actually mattered, it's got to be LeBron James. Go look at the numbers. When the Cavaliers do not have LeBron much of the same way, when the Thunder don't have Russ, there's a significant drop-off in both actual production and the eye test. They look significantly more depleted. They don't look as polished. They just don't look like the same team. So I guess if you're making me pick somebody, I would give it to LeBron James, and that's tough for me. You know, I'm not a fan of the guy.
Yeah.
But when you look at how the guy affects the games, I mean, if Russell Westbrook wasn't averaging a triple-double, we might be singing the praises of LeBron's triple-double rich season. So for me, I would give it to LeBron. I think hats off to Russ. But I'm here to tell you, I think James Harden will be the one to actually walk away with the award.
James Harden, okay.
Well, I mean, you talk about LeBron. I don't think you can give MVP to anybody that necessarily rests during the season. I think people have. Well, look. I think when you get the MVP, you have to have that Black Mamba mentality. You have to go out there and want to compete every night, no matter if you're playing a Philadelphia, no matter if you're playing a Golden State. It doesn't matter the talent level that you face. You need to want to compete. I don't care if you're thinking about the future, because in all, the MVP is a regular season award. We save the MVP for the playoffs for the Finals MVP, and that's what I look at it as. If you want to give the Finals MVP every year to LeBron, go ahead. He's been there 6 times in a row, so he averaged almost a triple-double in the Finals 2 years ago. So I can't argue with that, but I just look at the regular season and what Russell Westbrook did and the history of the league and kind of where his season will be allotted in the whole grand scheme of things. And I think he's had one of the best seasons that we've ever seen, a season that we will be able to tell our kids about and be able to, say you guys will never remember this.
You
fantastic,
young kids don't know what you're
exactly,
talking about.
acting like old heads, but they will never realize what Russell Westbrook did for his team and just for the NBA this season.
I couldn't agree more with that. My thing is, go look at 1965. Bill Russell averages 15 and 13, wins the NBA MVP. Wilt Chamberlain averages 15 and 20, by far the most outstanding player in that year, doesn't get the MVP. Yeah. I would also go as recent as 2006. Kobe Bryant averaging 35-plus points as well as 6-plus rebounds and assists. The award goes to Steve Nash, who's averaging, I think, 15 and 12 in terms of points and assists and was on the best team in the West. So you're right. It should go to that person. I'm just here to tell you how it's going to play out.
Yeah, and definitely guys like Kobe, guys like Wilt Chamberlain, guys like LeBron suffer from voter exhaustion. I think we see their name pop up so much in every category and every facet of the game that people get annoyed to vote for him. They're like, oh, I don't know if we should go NBA or not, or MVP or not. So.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah,
all right, guys, we'll have to leave it there. Moving on. Between football and baseball and basketball, a recurring topic has been the replay system. One side believes that the replay system is an indispensable tool that we can trust to eliminate game-changing errors, while the other side sees the controversy that the replay system has caused. Gentlemen, Alan, we'll start with you. Where do you guys stand on this topic?
Well, when it comes down to replay, I think that it's a great addition to the sports, world and everything that comes with it. Definitely have to look at baseball first, because baseball, I think they kind of mistakenly put replay in their game because they wanted to cut down on the time that you spend in a ballpark. They want to cut down on the time of their game. So what is replay going to help with that moving forward? At the same time, I like it because I think that it takes pressure off the refs, it takes pressure off the umps, it takes pressure off the officiating, because we want to cut down on as much as we can on human error. So I like replay in sports.
I would argue almost the antithesis at times, where replay holds these referees to a standard of where if you have all these angles and you don't get a call right, they're really going to be upset with you. Yeah. And I guess it's sort of back and forth for me. I see the merit in it, as well as I don't agree with resting players in any sport, but I see the merit in that as well. And the fact is, in 2017, the more connective, the more technological we become as a society, it's going to translate into sports, and especially sports where there's room for fans to argue that these referees are bad or that their human error is so egregious that it's affecting the outcome of the game. You're going to see opportunities where people say, let's get technology involved. And I like it. I think at times it's overused. I would agree with you on that, but I think you're going to see it used more and more as the years go on.
It's definitely inevitable.
Which sport would you say that it's best used for?
I think football is best used for. I think, I think the rules have to coincide with what replay gives us. I think it's kind of nonsense that you can't replay certain plays, you can't overturn certain penalty calls. So I think football works with best because the game's so fast and it's harder to see certain plays when there's so many people on the field. 22 guys, you're not going to see a fumble where it lays or who fumbled it, in a pile. So
my big thing is with replay in general, I'm okay with them using it. I never want them to use it to review penalties or really fouls, even in basketball. But I would agree with you. I think its best application has been in football in terms of spot of the ball. All those plays where you said there's 22 guys, 22 athletes that are, let's face it, normally of 6+, 200+ pound frames. It's very hard to see the spot of the ball or the details of the game. So I think football is definitely the best place for replay.
All right, fantastic stuff there from John Schiraldi and Aled Rogers. Stay with us because when we come back, Nick Jones will be performing live in studio.
Scott Van Pelt
has joined the conference.
Fellas, sorry I'm a little bit late. Hope I didn't keep you guys. Hello? Anybody there? Hello? Am I the first or what? Hello? Anybody there? They always cancel these things and no one tells me. Scott Van Pelt
has left the conference.
breakfast together is a pretty wonderful thing. But when you have a picky eater,
We'll touch this.
it can be a bit of a dance.
We'll touch this. We'll touch that.
Eggo time. Eggo waffles can win over the pickiest of eaters, so everyone can enjoy breakfast together.
Can't touch this. Lego my Eggo.
And I told John that I would go with him, but he didn't talk to me all day yesterday.
Who's John, Kara? What happened to Ryan?
Okay, here's the deal. Last week, Amanda told Jamie that she saw Ryan texting Amy in bio. Amy and Kara used to be biffs, so that's soup shady. Anywho, Jamie told Kara, so Kara dumped Ryan. Then Kara went out with John to make Ryan jealous, but she ended up liking him for reals, even though Aaron likes him, and they cheer together.
What?
Make us part of your family. Look for nutritious dairy brands with the real California seals.
Ooh, and Aaron defriended you. Just BT dubs.
Welcome back. Fantastic performance there by Nick Jones, right?
Oh, crushed it.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get into some football talk. The NFL released the schedule for the 2017 season last Thursday. Odds makers give the Patriots the best odds to repeat as Super Bowl champs with a 3-2 odds. Both the Packers and Steelers were given a 4-1 odds, while the Falcons come in as the Vegas underdogs with a 13-5 odds. So, John, we're actually going to start with you here. Who's going to be lifting up that Lombardi Trophy after the season?
Well, it's normally a safe bet to put Tom Brady and the Patriots in that conversation, but there's a couple teams I have circled as ones I think could really make a push and maybe walk away with the Lombardi Trophy. Oakland comes to mind. If Derek Carr's healthy, and especially with the addition of Marshawn Lynch this morning, you got to imagine they'll pair him with one or two other running backs. But Derek Carr is fastly becoming one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, into that elite echelon. And more importantly, that offensive line is perhaps the most stable out of any really in the AFC. So I look for the Raiders to make a push. And I really think this is a year you see a rebirth for Seattle. I think they make a push back to their dominance in the NFC. And really, once those Sherman trade rumors were quelled, it seems like I think they're going to get the ship righted and get back to, more importantly, winning games, which is what we know the Seahawks for.
Definitely. I'll start with the AFC, too. I definitely think when you look at Oakland, they're a team that can compete, but I'm going to have to go Houston. Depending on what they can do in the draft with that quarterback situation, I think Houston has the best chance to dethrone Tom Brady in that offense and Bill Belichick, because if you look at last year's playoff game, they're the team that gave Tom Brady the most fits, no doubt, picking him off several times in the game, and also, putting their offense in position to score a few times. So if they had a quarterback last year, they could have definitely challenged them and made it a closer game, but the Texans, in my opinion, could come out of the AFC. And when you look at the NFC, I have to go with that bad man and Aaron Rodgers, man. You got to love what he brings. Rodgers, yeah, the discount double check all day. So if Aaron and McCarthy can right that ship early and kind of go for that first or second seed in the NFC, then I could definitely see the Packers coming out of the NFC.
Is the defense, though, concerning for Green Bay? Because that secondary is not the best.
The secondary is definitely iffy. Clinton Dix definitely anchors that secondary back there. And
one could say the secondary is good for a few laughs. That's a horrible pun.
Yeah, no. Well, anyway, for a few laughs for that Falcons offense for sure, because they torched them last year in the NFC Championship game. But if you look at it, I think if the defense is just competent enough to get to the quarterback and get Aaron Rodgers on the field, then they have more chance than anybody to win the NFC.
Okay, I have to ask, so I get your predictions here, but I hear nobody mention the Steelers in the AFC with a chance to go against Tom Brady. They have all this talent, Ben, the Killer Bees. I mean, What are you guys' thoughts on the Steelers?
For me, it really comes down to coaching, and I really liked Mike Tomlin early on in the Mike Tomlin experience, but I think as the years have gone on, I've become much more of the school of thought of he reaped the benefits of what the Cowher coaching staff really laid that groundwork. I love Mike Tomlin. I do think he's a good coach, but I just don't know if he's the coach to take this Steeler group to the next level. You just talked about the offense, and it finds like every year we say to ourselves, if this Steeler offense could have everybody on the field, they probably wouldn't be able to be stopped. But once again, that defense is just so concerning that I really have a hard time picking them to win a Super Bowl.
Real quickly, Alan?
It's hard to look at them and say champions when they don't have the defense to be there, but you can never count out Big Ben.
All right, thanks, guys. Great debate. That will wrap things up here on The Debate. I'd like to thank our guests, John Schiraldi, Alan Rogers. Great musical performance by Nick Jones. And I'm Brittany Bissell, and you've been watching The Debate. Thanks for joining us.